Hey, this is Pure, and today we're going to do a comparison between a fake Fender Stratocaster and a real Fender Stratocaster. So, a bit of a caveat, I'm no expert here. I'm not claiming to be an expert in Fender guitars, but at least I can make a logical deduction that this one is a fake based on the comparisons that we'll make with the real Fender. Okay, so I'll go through the different parts of the guitar and the things which tell me that this one is a fake. So let me put the real one aside first. Okay, now going through this guitar, let's start from the headstock there. So we do see that there's a Fender logo there, and there's also a original contour body lettering there. So what's wrong with those? First, for the Fender logo, if I run my finger through it, I can feel that it is on top of the finish. When I do the same thing for my original Fender, the lettering is there, and then the finish, the coating was put on top of it, so I'm not able to feel that this lettering is on top of the finish here. So it seems to have been put on after the neck had already had the finish. The same thing goes for this original contour body, and the positioning of this those text is slightly off compared to where I have it in my Fender made in Mexico. It's a bit closer here. The other one is the string trees that we have here. Usually you would only find one, and in this case we've got two of them. So for example, comparing what we have here, so you'll see two string trees in the other one, and here in the original we only have one. And the other thing would be the hole that we have here for adjusting the truss rod, right? So as you would notice that for many Fender guitars, it's made of a different material. So there's a walnut darker brown wood there where you enter the hole for adjusting the truss rod. So those are the differences I see between this one, which I deem as a fake, compared to the original. Now at the back, you will see, let me see if it catches the light in the right way. You'd see that there's a serial number there, which might, deceive you into believing it's original. But again, the same thing here. If I run my finger over it, my nail over it, I'll see that it was put on after, on top of the finish, where in the original it should feel quite smooth. If you look up the serial number in the Fender database, it will tell you that it's made in the USA in the some 20 years ago, but it doesn't look to me like a 20-year-old guitar. So this whole Fender made in USA, that doesn't seem to be the case. For the tuning heads, the tuning machines, they are stamped as Fender, so they might be real tuning heads. They're smooth enough, but I would guess that those are probably fake as well, although they are stamped as Fender. Other things that I see going down from the head is the nut. The nut You would expect for Fender USA that it would be a bone nut. In this case, it's a plastic nut, and it's also not well seated in its slot. So it's also quite uneven, and that tells me that I think this is a plastic nut and not a bone nut. The other thing would be at the back. We have the skunk stripe here, and the reason that there's a stripe is that it's made of a different material. There's a groove here where where if you remove that piece of wood, that would expose the truss rod going through the length of the neck. But in this case, it seems to have been just painted on to give the appearance that there's a skunk stripe. But I would think that it's just an ordinary neck where the truss rod is kind of accessed beneath the fingerboard. So I don't see a difference in material here. Rather, I think it was just painted on. Other stuff is going to the back of the neck joint here, where it is bolted onto the body. It is also stamped with a Fender logo, but the etching is different. Where in this case, it seems that it was kind of punched, as opposed to I don't, for this guitar of mine, it's not even spelled as Fender, just a letter F. So I'm not sure how to make that comparison, but I've seen in the internet other versions of this plate where instead of a stamped logo, it appears to be etched instead, but it's still marked as a Fender. Now, for the back plate here, the covering, the plastic covering, you would notice that the screws, whoops, the screw holes are symmetrical, and for the original Fender, the way that it works, the way that it is that you'll see there that there's a bit of an offset where this is a bit higher and off center and not perfectly aligned with the other hole at the back. For this guitar, you'll notice that on the 12th fret, the dots are quite far apart as compared to your Fender standard, where the two dots are quite near to each other. Okay, so that's one more difference. And then looking at the bridge, none of the bridge hardware is stamped, and also the quality of the material, it's not what you would expect from an original Fender, especially one which is supposedly made in USA. Other stuff would be the pickups. The markings are quite faded, but they're supposed to be noiseless pickups, noiseless single coil pickups. And if you look in the internet, there is such a thing as Fender noiseless pickups, but you'll also see in the internet that there are a lot of fake noiseless pickups. Also, the coloring is off. These are very white in color. the ones I see for the Fender noiseless pickups are a bit, off-white. They're not as bright white that I see here. Other things would be kind of the general overall quality of the how it was made. It's an okay guitar. It's just not what you would expect from a Fender USA guitar. The fretwork is uneven, where some are smooth while some are jutting out a bit. I think that's all that I can see, at least from the exterior. I never even bothered removing the scratch plate and looking at the internals. It's not an original Fender, is what I concluded here. But it plays well enough for your generic Stratocaster guitar. It's just not a Fender. The neck profile, interestingly, is a bit chunkier, so it seems to be it it's patterned after more like the older Fender neck profiles. It's chunkier compared to what I'm used to when using my Fender player Stratocaster or my Fender Telecaster. So it's a bit chunkier. See if you can see it there. Okay, so I think so based on all of those comparisons that I made, so I do conclude that this is a counterfeit guitar, and I don't recommend that you buy a fake. It's fine buying clones as long as they don't claim to be a Fender, right? But in this case, it's being deceptive. It's trying to represent itself as something which it's not. So there are a lot of Stratocaster copies available out there, and you're better off getting those instead of buying one which is infringing on the Fender name. Okay, so hopefully this is helpful just in case you encounter the same kind of guitar, and so you would be able to identify the same things that I did on how it's different compared to the real thing. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.